All right, traders, welcome to today's explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify multi-time frame analysis on the NASDAQ. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by all the intraday noise of the markets, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to break down a strict, rule-based approach that takes you from the absolute highest level of market context right down to rapid-fire execution. So get ready to transform how you look at the charts because we are building a crystal-clear visual roadmap for your trading.
So, here's the game plan for today. First, the 4-hour uptrend. Second, the 4-hour downtrend. Third, marking our key levels. And finally, those sniper 1-minute entry strategies.
All right, part one, the 4-hour uptrend, or what we'll call macro-level ascendancy. Listen, before we even think about hitting that buy button, we've got to ground ourselves in the big picture. I mean, if you don't know what the macro trend is doing, you're literally flying blind out there. So, our visual anchor for an uptrend is super straightforward. It's simply when the green candles completely dominate the red ones, physically pushing the market upward. We aren't dealing with complex, tangled algorithms here. We're looking at pure, undeniable price action. The green absolutely has to overpower the red, period.
Look at this 4-hour NASDAQ chart. You can't miss it. That massive green candle is just forcefully driving the market higher. Just look at the sheer size of that candle body compared to the tiny ones right before it. That right there, that's visual dominance. That's the bulls taking total control of the 4-hour time frame, and it leaves absolutely zero doubt about where the immediate macro momentum is heading.
Moving right along to part two, the 4-hour downtrend and the shift in momentum. You know, markets breathe in and they breathe out. We've got to know exactly what happens when that overarching macro sentiment suddenly flips, on a dime. And the rule here? It's just the exact mirror image of our uptrend. A downtrend is strictly defined by red candles overpowering the green ones, forcing the price lower. It's a total shift in control. The visual evidence of selling pressure has to completely dominate the buying pressure. It's really that simple, but man, is it profound when you see it on the chart.
And this perfectly captures that exact shift. Look at the chart again, right after that initial bullish push we were just talking about. Bam! What happens? This massive red candle shows up and completely engulfs the previous green action. It dominates the space, laying down this aggressive downside pressure on the 4-hour chart. The market isn't just, slowly trickling lower. It's being aggressively shoved down by those red candles.
Okay, part three, marking key levels. Basically, drawing our battle lines.
Now that we've got our macro trends and candle dominance dialed in, we shift over to actually mapping out the market structure. This is how we frame our entire workspace. And we do this with 3 absolute non-negotiable steps. Step 1, identify the 4-hour trend, which we just nailed. Step 2, mark the macro high level. And step 3, mark the macro low level. By sticking to these 3 precise steps, we literally filter out all the intraday noise. We stop hyper-focusing on every little tick and zero in on the critical structural boundaries that actually matter.
Check this out. Notice how we've objectively marked our upper boundary with a solid red line right at the peak of that massive momentum shift. Then we dropped a green line down at the established low to mark the lower boundary. These aren't just random lines drawn on a whim. They frame our entire playing field. They show us exactly where the big players stepped in to turn this market around. So now we've got a clearly defined box, a literal battleground established right there on the 4-hour macro level.
Which brings us to part 4, 1-minute entry strategies, where we get into precision execution. All right, now for the really fun part. Boom, we're zooming into the 1-minute NASDAQ chart. Notice how those exact same high and low lines, the red resistance and the green support from our 4-hour chart, they translate perfectly onto this 1-minute execution time frame. They act like absolute magnets and brick walls for price. We've taken the macro context and laid it directly over our micro execution screen. So we're not just trading the 1 minute in the dark, we're trading it with the full weight and structure of the 4-hour chart right behind us.
Now, the absolute golden rule of entry execution, extreme patience. As our framework says, when there is a continuation of red or green candles, wait for a clear change of trend. I mean, just because the price taps your line doesn't mean you smash the buy or sell button right that second.
Let's actually break down what that kind of patience looks like in practice. First, you just observe the continuation of the candles. Watch the move. Second, you allow the price to actually reach your marked macro high or low. No front-running the trade, seriously. And third, arguably the most crucial part, you wait for a clear visual change of trend right at that specific level. You aren't guessing, you are waiting for these exact criteria to line up before you commit a single cent of your capital.
And here is the spectacular payoff of that patience.
Watch how the price action interacts with our lines here. Up at the top, right where that red arrow is, the continuation of green candles slams into our red macro high line. And then, we get that clear change of trend. The red candles completely take over, handing us a pristine, high-probability short entry trigger. And conversely, look down at the bottom. The price drops, hits our green macro low line, and, just like the green arrow points out, the green candles violently overtake the red ones. Boom, a perfect long entry trigger. It's pure precision execution, built entirely on a top-down, rule-based methodology.
So I want to leave you with this one thought to chew on. You know how to find the macro levels now, right? But do you actually have the patience to wait for that clear change in trend? Because honestly, having the right multi-time frame analysis, drawing perfect 4-hour lines, and stalking the 1-minute chart, that's really only half the battle. The rest of it, that relies entirely on your discipline as a trader to just sit on your hands and wait for the market to reveal its hand. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Go study these setups, practice that patience, and I'll catch you next time.